I have a question from a Bhakta. There's two questions, but I'm only going to answer one. Bhakta Sumon in London. And he makes a very astute observation. He says, I found that when Shastra talks about devotees, it can mean either someone who's practicing sadhana bhakti or someone who's a pure devotee. How can one ascertain which devotee the Shastra is referring to from context to context? Well, you gave the answer. Context. It's the context that will determine what type of devotee is actually being spoken about. So from context to context, you can actually evaluate what type of Vaishnav is being glorified. The demigods are Vaishnav, Kama, Savakama, Uva, Mokshakama, Udaradi. Lord Brahma is a Vaishnav, Lord Shiva is a Vaishnav, Indra is a Vaishnav, but they're all different types of Vaishnavas. And from their behavior, we get to see their difference. It's a generic term, just like we use the word man. The word man refers to the prime minister, it refers to the head of the police, it refers to a housewife. I mean, she's a woman, but she's part of mankind. It refers to a thief on the street. It refers to a storekeeper. So they're all men. But in terms of other details, we get to know what type of men they are, their contribution to society, and how much respect they should give given, and so on and so on and so on. So contextual analysis is extremely important. We see that there are a lot of arguments nowadays in ISKCON. What did Prabhupada say? What did Prabhupada mean? And context doesn't necessarily mean just studying what is the verse in front of it, what's the verse behind it, but the overall theme in context with other similar statements, contradictory statements, knowledge of a person who speaks. It's a real science. It's a real science to know just actually what is the meaning of a person. If he only has one meaning, he may have many meanings, that said something 5,000 years ago. You have to really study Shastra for that. And we should do that. That's what our business is. To Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, to be absorbed in Scripture and really try to understand it, as Srila Prabhupada says, from all points of view. So this all points of view study is extremely important. Learn the context. We see, for instance, devotee. And then, of course, it's not just devotee, but devotion is also differently defined, or it refers to different types of devotion. Sometimes it's practice devotion, sometimes it's bhava bhakti, sometimes it's prema bhakti. For instance, in the words of Lord Kapila, the Shradarati Bhakti Anukramishasi, acharyas all agree that he's speaking about prema bhakti. In Vyasadeva trance, Bhakti Yogena Manasa Samyak Prahanati Amale Apashat Purucha Purnam Mayacha Yad Ashrayam. There, that Bhakti Yogena Manasi means that he's in the trance of prema bhakti. He's not in the trance of practicing bhakti. He's in the trance of prema bhakti. And that's why we have commentaries to help us clarify these things. Prithu Maharaj is a devotee, but he's a Supreme Lord, Shaktavesh Avatar. Nanda Maharaj is a devotee. Indra is listed as a devotee. Kardama Muni is a devotee. Prahlad Maharaj is a devotee. We call ourselves, call each other devotees, but they all mean so many different things because our level of advancement is different. But still, it's correct. Yet, we should know our own level of spiritual advancement, and therefore what type of devotional benefits we're entitled to and what we're allowed to do. If you're not like Lord Shiva, Shukadev Goswami says, don't try and drink an ocean of poison. So Krishna can dance with others' wives, but don't you try to do that. And advanced devotees can forego the regulative principles of devotional service, but unless you're on a liberated platform, don't do it, otherwise you get in trouble. Different types of devotees, different types of devotion. I was also reminded of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary to one of the Bhagavatam verses where he's talking about the different types, listing the different types of gopis. There are devotees also. Some of them are Nityasiddha. They came from the spiritual world with Krishna. Some of them are sadhakas, sadhanasiddhas, who became perfect by sadhana. Some are the personified Upanishads, who performed austerities to become gopis. Some of them are associates of Lord Ramachandra, and they attained this stage of perfection. They became Vaishnavis. Some of them are demigods in the very beginning. The Lord orders Brahma that the wives and daughters of the demigods should appear, and they appear. And they all have different levels of devotion. They have different levels of perfected devotion. Some are actually just still remain as practitioners. We should know these things, study these things, and this is what it means when Bhagavad Gita finishes and Sanjaya says someone who studies this Krishna's instructions to Arjuna with his intelligence, worships Krishna with his intelligence, hears this carefully. So we should not just read. That's why this whole concept of reading is good, but Shastra is too important, too detailed, too interpretable to just sort of give it a casual read. It really needs to be studied. And so yes, study the context, know the context of what is being stated, and then one will get proper realization. As I mentioned, Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. This is practice devotional service that's being talked about, but elsewhere other devotional services are being talked about. We should know these things and understand these things and learn them. That will make us a devotee.